Morning. Welcome to Simple Italian. So what we're going to do today is we're going to make a classic Bolognese sauce, rigatoni Bolognese. It's a classic meat sauce. So what we're going to do is I have 4 garlic cloves, about a half an onion, some celery, some flat leaf Italian parsley, and we're going to chop all this up, some Italian peeled tomatoes. I'm going to chop all this up. I'm going to heat my pan, and I'm going to add some extra virgin olive oil. Well, let's get started with the chopping. So we're going to chop 4 cloves of garlic. Not very big cloves, average size cloves. Get these chopped. Hope everybody had a nice Christmas season, holiday season. We took a couple of weeks off between Christmas and New Year's. Just kind of hung out with our families, and so here we are, we're back at it. Hope everybody was good and was on Santa's good list. I know I was. Chop an onion. And some celery. So my pan is heating. I'm going to add some extra virgin olive oil. Maybe less than a quarter of a cup. This is going to be plenty to feed 2 people. And it's so easy and so simple. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that heat a little bit. And I'm going to add my chopped garlic, onion, and celery. Now the celery, you want to chop it a little bit finer because it's bigger and you don't want to end up with a big chunk of celery in your mouth or anybody else. That's the sound you always want to hear, of a heated pan sizzling. I'm going to add some celery. You're probably not going to add all this celery because that looks like enough. So we'll just push that aside and use it another time. And I'm going to chop some Italian parsley. Add that. Basically what we're going to do here is we're going to get this cooking. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just sauteing this up because the celery and the onion will take a little longer to cook. So I want them to get a little soft, not overly soft. Bolognese sauce, you can make it 3 ways. You can make it with ground beef, ground veal. Actually, you can make it 4 ways. You can use pork, you can use chicken, turkey. So that's like, what, 6 ways? But anyway, in my house, not everybody eats red meat, so I'm going to use ground turkey. And believe me, it's just as good, if not better. And it's better for you. There's less fat. So I have about a half a pound of ground turkey that I'm going to add here. And let it saute with the onion, celery, and garlic. Again, this is so simple. We're going to get this all in there together and let the flavors start to marry. You don't want to overdo it with meat either because you want to taste everything. The ground meat is in there, the ground turkey is in there. Now we're going to let this just cook together. Now to this you can also add a splash of white wine, a splash of red wine, if you like. I prefer to just add the tomatoes. So we're going to let this just brown. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, just about there, I'm going to add my spices. I'm going to add some oregano from my garden. By the way, it gives the appearance of something else, but it really isn't. So I'm going to add a pretty decent amount, pinch of oregano, a big pinch, I guess. some crushed dried basil, not too much. Cracked black pepper. I'm going to add just a little salt at this point, but I'm going to readjust that later. And we're going to just let these come together nice. So the onions are translucent. The onions are translucent. The celery has begun to soften a little bit. The ground meat is brown. What I'm going to do now is add my peeled tomatoes. Just gonna, as you can tell by now, I like to just crush them with my hand. Some people like them a little smoother. You can put them in the blender or the food processor. I prefer to keep it a little on the chunky side, not overly chunky. Add that in. One more. And I'm going to add a little bit of that juice from the can of tomato. Okay, so I've added the tomatoes. I'm going to turn my heat down to about medium. I don't like to cook any kind of tomato sauce for a long period of time. The old thing is that you're supposed to let your tomato sauce cook all day. It's just not true. You don't need that much time. You're sauteing it here. This is going to be done in 5 minutes. You get a much more cooked taste in the tomatoes and the sauce in general. When you cook tomato sauce for a long period of time, what happens is you cook all the tomato down so much that it becomes acidic, and that's why a lot of times people get heartburn and acid reflux and stuff from tomato sauce. If you use the right tomatoes, good Italian peeled tomatoes, and you don't cook your sauce for a long time, you can, an hour is about all you really need. We used to actually manufacture and sell our sauce around the state of Connecticut and parts of New York and parts of Massachusetts. And the packer that used to make it for us, when we reached 195 degrees, it went into the jar. And that was it. So it's not overcooked. You can still warm it up and it tastes fantastic. And you don't get that heavy acidity. It's really coming together very nicely. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to add some fresh basil. I'm just going to pull it apart coarsely like that. I'm not going to chop it. I'm actually going to add a little bit more. That fresh basil flavor is so good. And I'm going to add some grated pecorino. Right to the pan. Okay, now that it's just about done, now I'm going to turn it down so I can hold it and not burn it. My water's boiling. I'm going to add about a half a pound of rigatoni. One other thing I want to tell you, keeping it on the healthy side. Okay, so we're using ground turkey, which is very lean, very, very little fat. If you also use the Protein Plus pasta, it's fantastic. It has omega-3s, it has a lot of fiber. It's very good instead of using regular pasta. However, today for the show, I'm going to use regular semolina. I'm going to add about a half a pound of rigatoni to my water. And I'm going to salt the water. Now I'm also going to adjust the seasoning in the Bolognese sauce with a little more salt. And a little more cracked black pepper. so this is ready. I'm going to shut the burner off and hold it because it's all set. Okay, so I'm going to give my pasta a quick stir to make sure that it doesn't stick. I do not believe in putting oil in the water. I know some people do. Personally, I don't like it. I just prefer to cook it with salted water, stir it, and it will not stick on you. I'm going to keep it covered for another minute because it's just about done. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to drain it and toss it right in the pan with the Bolognese sauce. Okay, so the pasta is about done. I'm going to take just a little bit of pasta water and add it to my sauce. Just to loosen it so it's not too tight. Now I'm going to drain my pasta. I'm going to add my rigatoni directly to the pan. I'm going to add a little more pecorino because it gives it such a nice, salty, delicious flavor. A little bit of chopped basil, but this is going to actually go on top. But just toss this all together. And add it to my bowl. A little fresh basil over the top. And we're done. The best time, the taste test. You need to get a bunch of that meat sauce, the rigatoni, some of that fresh basil. I'm actually going to give this one to my producer, my beautiful daughter. Here you go, honey. Okay, and mine. I personally am going to add more grated Romano because I'm a cheese freak, and we're going to give it a shot here. Oh my God. Pasta, any way you make it, it's such a comfort food. I could eat this every day, and I know others out there can too. That's our show for today. Allora, mangiamo. Arrivederci. Ciao.